In this module, we'll examine the procedures and tactics designed to maximize your safety and effectiveness when conducting unknown risk vehicle stops. Most of the stops we make fall into this category. The contact begins when you have probable cause to stop a vehicle. It's not necessary to immediately hit your lights when you see a violation. Assess safety considerations while following the vehicle. Things like tinted windows, multiple occupants, and furtive movement should be factored into your decision-making before you proceed. Watch for indications that this may be more than a simple traffic violation. Do you notice a dirty plate on a clean car? Is the license plate altered or improperly attached? Do you notice a missing vent window? Or does the driver appear to be attempting to hide his face?
26, go ahead.
Think about potential stop locations at least 1 or 2 blocks ahead. The ideal spot is an area off the roadway where backup can move in quickly. Avoid poor locations, such as below the crest of a hill, bridges, and areas with tight guardrails or no shoulder. If the driver stops in an unsafe place, instruct him to move to a more suitable location. Use the PA to direct the driver onto a less hazardous street or into a parking lot.
Driver of the red passenger car, can you please pull your car over to the shoulder? Thanks.
You should be in control of every aspect of the situation, from start to finish. Handle all the preliminary communication up front before activating your emergency lights. Each department usually has its own call-in system or policy, but it never hurts to give more information than is required. Give the license plate letters phonetically. Always make sure you give the vehicle make, model, and color. Let the dispatcher know the number of occupants and their descriptions, and provide your exact location using street signs, highway signs, or mile markers. Call in this information every time and get an acknowledgement from the dispatcher before stopping the vehicle. Finally, run an NCIC check before initiating the contact. Once again, following the car to an ideal stopping place will give you time to attend to other details. It's a good idea to develop a system so you're ready once a vehicle stops. Always keep your eyes on the violator's vehicle during these preliminaries. Now, let's look briefly at the other details affecting the stop. Use as many emergency lights as your department policy allows, and leave them on. They help your backup find you. With your emergency lights on, if the encounter turns into a pursuit, you only have to engage the siren. At night, as the vehicle slows to a stop, turn on your high beams and takedown lights, and focus your spotlight at the driver's side and rear view mirrors. Did your location change? If so, tell the dispatcher your final location. Watch the suspect vehicle closely at this point. There's no way to overemphasize the importance of maintaining constant visual contact with the vehicle and occupants. You're looking for signs of flight, sudden attack, or concealment of evidence. When the violator stops, you'll normally see the reverse lights flicker briefly as the driver shifts past reverse into park. But watch out. If the brake lights remain on, or the car continues to roll forward slowly, or you notice the reverse lights flicker again as the driver shifts back into drive, this would be a good time to reassess the threat level and engage in increased risk tactics. In the past, a distance of 8 to 10 feet was the recommended distance between the squad car and the violator's vehicle. But in recent years, the trend has been to increase this distance. Studies of accidents and officer assaults lead most trainers to recommend a distance of 10 to 20 feet on unknown risk stops and as much as 30 or 40 feet in felony stop situations. Remember, increasing distance decreases danger. Distance is one of your best protections in a gunfight. At distances approaching 40 feet, your firearms training should give you an advantage over most of your attackers. And if the suspect leaves his car and comes for you, you've bought yourself some valuable reaction time. Finally, the increased distance is best for patrol cars equipped with video cameras. Parking closely may make portions of the contact invisible to the camera. At distances of around 20 feet, field sobriety tests can be conducted forward of the right front corner of the patrol unit and captured on video. Along with distance, position is the other important factor when setting up your vehicle for the stop. Of course, positioning is dependent on the situation, but whenever possible, offset the patrol unit about 3 feet to the left of the violator's vehicle. This will create a safety lane to shield your approach from passing traffic. If room permits, angle the patrol car slightly to the left. Having the patrol car between you and the violator creates a modest amount of cover. Turning your wheels to the left provides additional cover protection. In addition, if your vehicle is rear-ended, the canted wheels will direct the vehicle away from you and the violator's vehicle. Of course, if you can't get to a preferred location, inline parking may be the only alternative. Select the best position given the situation and be alert for other vehicles that may have pulled up behind you. It's very important to get out of your patrol car quickly. Delays can compromise your tactical situation. And try not to slam your door. This tells the violator that you're now out of your car. Remember the tactical value of surprise and doing the unexpected. There are several accepted approaches for unknown risk stops. You'll find various opinions on the best way to approach the driver. However, every technique has certain advantages and disadvantages. Don't limit yourself to a single method. Use your judgment, assess the circumstances, and choose the best approach for each instance. A left side or driver's side approach requires little effort. It's the most common method officers use. It's also the method motorists are most familiar with, the one they expect. It's one of those predictable things we do. The left side approach puts an officer in an easy place to converse with the driver and obtain requested documents. Unfortunately, you're exposed to the most dangerous variable, the concealment and use of a firearm.
Mr. Foster, will you step out of the vehicle, please?
The left side approach helps an officer maintain visual contact with violators when they're required to step out of the vehicle. This position can be particularly useful when escorting impaired or confused drivers to protect them from passing traffic. On most roads and streets, proximity to passing traffic is one of the disadvantages to the left side approach. You're forced to divide your attention between the traffic and the violator's vehicle. Let's look at one nighttime safety technique you can use when approaching a vehicle. Using your flashlight in your weak hand, direct the beam behind you and either flash the light on and off or move the light from side to side. This will help alert motorists to your presence. Another technique, called the tactical wide approach, provides an invisible approach to the driver even in daylight. With the patrol car offset to the left, take a couple of large steps to pass out of the view of the violator's mirrors. If you can see the driver's face in the rear view mirrors, you're too far to the right.
Morning, sir.
By using tactical lighting and directing the spotlight directly into the violator's mirrors, it's possible to use this wide approach to walk up to the interview position without being detected, even if the violator is trying to find you in his mirrors. And if the violator turns to look for you or adjusts his mirrors to find you, these can be warning signs. Reassess the threat level and move to increased risk tactics. Keep in mind, this wide approach puts you a bit closer to the traffic lanes. You'll only be able to use this technique on lightly traveled roads or in parking areas. Another walk-up technique is the right side or passenger side approach. It has several advantages. First, its safety benefit is that it allows the officer's attention to be more fully focused on the violator's vehicle and its occupants. There's also less likelihood of the officer being struck by a passing motorist. One of the biggest benefits of the passenger side approach is the element of surprise. Motorists typically don't expect this tactic, and approaching from the right side gives officers more tactical angles to work with. The right side position enables the officer to see most of the passenger compartment. The line of sight to the glove compartment, console, and front and rear floorboards is greatly improved. Since most people are right-handed, officers can see the driver's shooting hand. With the left side approach, the right hand is often out of sight. Of course, the right side approach requires slightly more effort throughout the course of the contact. Drivers without power windows will have to reach to open the passenger window. Communication with the driver may not be as convenient, and passengers may be inclined to interfere in the conversation. And the officer may be tempted to reach inside the vehicle to obtain documents. Never put your hands inside the vehicle. Always let the documents come to you. Another disadvantage to the right side approach is that it may place you in tall grass or on muddy ground, uneven terrain, icy snowbanks, and similar hazards. A right side approach may prompt the officer to walk between the two vehicles. It's always recommended that the officer circle around the rear of the patrol car and move forward from there. You can also use the tactical wide approach on the passenger side. This approach involves offsetting the patrol car to the right of the violator's vehicle. By moving to the rear of the patrol car and stepping out to the right, you'll reach a point out of view of the driver's right outside mirror. Move forward until you reach a point near the rear bumper. Then angle back to a point just behind the front passenger door.
How you doing? Sergeant Duncan with the City Police Department.
Whichever approach you choose, take time to assess the occupant's actions before you make contact. Exit your car and pause momentarily behind the door. What are they doing? Are they carefully watching you in their mirrors or looking back for you? That pause behind cover may provide you protection from a surprise attack. Your third alternative is to direct the driver to exit the vehicle and walk back to you. Under current law, you can require the driver and all passengers to exit the vehicle for your safety. So why should you direct the driver to walk back to you on some stops? Walking up to the violator's vehicle presents a number of disadvantages. First, you cannot see much of the violator's body besides the head and shoulders for most of the approach, so the violator has cover and concealment while you do not. The suspect may have a weapon, or they can use the vehicle against you. The violator can speed away. You may also risk losing the advantage your lights provide at night if you allow yourself to be silhouetted during the approach. Having the driver exit the vehicle gives you several advantages. You're able to maintain a cover position until you can see the violator and his hands clearly. It keeps you outside the danger zone near the suspect's vehicle. It's also a means of separating the driver from the other passengers. And most importantly, it separates the violator from any weapons that may be in the vehicle. But what if you direct a violator out of his vehicle and that person flees? If a driver is willing to run from you, then that's a vehicle you didn't want to walk up to in the first place. Next, let's examine the verbal techniques you can use when effecting a traffic stop. When you've reached a position to converse with the driver, identify yourself and explain the reason for the stop.
Morning, sir. Deputy Alexander, Lincoln Parish Sheriff's Department. The reason I'm stopping you today is for speeding.
Make a point of listening to the driver, ask for justification, and don't lose your cool. You're the professional. Remember, most citizen complaints stem from traffic stops. It's a golden opportunity for good public relations. Once you've asked for justification from the violator, ask for his driver's license, registration, and insurance. After obtaining the documents, move away from the violator before examining them closely. In warmer climates, consider writing the citation outside your patrol car, standing behind an open door. Writing the ticket in your squad can compromise your ability to react to trouble. Now that you've written the ticket, your reapproach to the violator's vehicle requires a reassessment for potential threats. There were no signs of any problems. The NCIC checks were negative. The driver seemed cooperative. It's easy to assume the stop will end without incident, but we still must be on guard. Every time you reapproach the vehicle, you must treat it as a new stop. Don't ever assume that because you've filled out the citation, issued it, and walked back to your car that the stop is over. If everything goes smoothly, you're finished with the contact only after the motorist has re-entered traffic. Remember, use your observation skills to assess the situation, position the squad at a safe distance, and choose the right approach for the situation. Don't take anything for granted when approaching unknown traffic stops. Where unknown risks exist, there's no margin for error.